Next speaker is Takato Horii. Yes, on how emotional structures are formed, computational approach towards the understanding of emotional qualia.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Takato Horii. I think it's the first time to meet you because I'm a newcomer for this workshop and the group of Qualia structure. So first, I'd like to say thanks, and I'm really happy to feel because the Professor Naoya Tsuchiya invite me to this meeting. The title of my talk is the how emotional structure are formed. So I would like to show my to study that's the try to modeling the emotional structure in the computational model. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Takato Horii. I'm I got the PhD in Osaka University, engineering. And my research interest is close to the Tanichu-san's. So I would like to understand the human cognitive capability by constructing the robot or the artificial intelligence based on the cognitive development robotics approach. But my ultimate goal of my study or my research interest is a bit differ from the Tanichu-san's. So I want to develop the robot that can actually feel the emotion or the qualia in its architectures. And I would like to develop build the robot who kill me based on its envy feeling for me. It's really my ultimate goal. And this figure shows some research topic that I studied. So I try to analyze the physiological data of the human to understand how emotional category transition through the stimuli or interaction, and try to modeling the emotional category by using the multimodal system, and try to develop the soft tactile sensor, because I believe the embodiment is really important to modeling the human emotion, and try to process try to develop the efficient processing architecture that handle the hysteresis of the soft sensor. And recently, I tried to develop some creativity model in the artificial intelligence. So that's the neural network try to generate the novel tools through the interaction between the robots and the environment. So in this movie, the robot tried to generate more large tools through the interaction with the environment. And in this presentation, I would like to introduce my study that's focused on the emotional development or the modeling of the emotion. And first, so if you feel, if you hear the emotion, so what you emerge the emotion? So for instance, sometimes the researcher used the emotion as a category stimuli, like the facial expression. It's shown in the slides. Or sometimes the robotics researcher consider the more continuous characteristic of the emotion, like this, the low dimensional specific, the the space. I focused on the more, the embodied property of the emotion. So recently, the much researcher focused on the interoceptive signals to consider to the study about the emotion. And some research says the emotion is the actual physiological change in the human body. For instance, the change of the heart rate or the change of the respiration rate or the sweat or something. And the affection is used as the emotion Qualia in this region, I think. So the affection shows have a meaning about the subjective experience of the physiological changes in the brain. And the experience can be feel as the prediction of the interoceptive signal or the detection of the prediction error between the predict interoceptive signal and the actual, the interoceptive signal. And in last day's presentation, Yamada-san shows some interesting study that correspond to the region of the that correspond to the emotional region in the brain. So these kind of the interoceptive signal connect to the region called the insula in the human brain, and it's processed in the region of the insula. And again, recently the one theory called the free energy principle have attract the attention from the many kind of the cognitive scientists and the robotics researcher or something. So the free energy principle is basically the theory that's the try to explain the human cognitive function or as the function that's only consider the minimization of the free energy in the information theory. This is related to the idea of the machine learning. So the machine learning model also try to minimize the error of its the prediction, and it is related to the minimization of the information. The minimization of the free energy in the information theory. And some researchers try to propose some conceptual model of the emotion that's considering or integrating the interoceptive information. For instance, the CES proposed the conceptual idea that the emotional feeling are generated from the prediction of the interception. And the more, how can I say, rich emotional feeling are generated from the integration of the other sensory information. And also the Ohira sensei proposed the similar idea, and Fukushima sensei explained the relationship between the bottom-up feeling of the emotion and the top-down modulation of the emotion, considering the free energy principle. On the other hand, in the robotics research or the engineering research, much researcher only consider or only focus on the recognition or the generation of the emotion as the facial expression or the body movement or something. So they do not try to develop the actual emotional system in the robot. However, one pioneer research that's studied by Professor Ogata. Professor Ogata tried to generate the interesting emotional model that consider the interceptions based on the robot, the level of the robot battery or the level or the, how can I say, the thermodynamics of the robot motor or something. So this approach can be extended to generate the actual emotion in the the robot, how can I say, the system, I believe that. So, and based on my ultimate goal, so I would like to develop the emotional architecture that the robot can actually feel the emotion based on its own embodiment. So I explain the two very, how can I say, preliminary study that as a first step to understand the emotional qualia and to emerge the emotion in the robot. And the first one is modeling the emotional development in the human infant based on the neural network. So in psychology, it is known that the human emotion is emerged, how can I say, the developed from the infant to adult. And in infant, how can I say, that the human have only the few category of the emotion. For instance, the infant only express the excitement or the positive or negative pressure expression or the actions in the early stage of the infant, but through the development, infant can explain the more detailed category of the emotion. But we don't know how the emotional representation or the emotional expression are acquired from the infant to adult, and how the emotional representation that can share with the individuals. We don't know how the representation develop in the sorry how the shared representation of the emotion. We do not how these representation develop through the human development. Okay. In this study, we focused on the model of the free energy principle and the physical interaction between the infant and the caregiver, and we hypothesize the two characteristics of the human. The perception may help to generate these kind of the representation of the emotion. The one is the qualitative difference in the tactile perception in other sensation. And another one is the developmental change in the perceptual ability in infancy. The first idea is it is also related to the Yamada-san's study. So actually the human skin have the different type of the nerve system. That the one is the can detect the fast pain, that is called the delta fiber. And the other one can detect the more variable, the stimuli that's related to the positive or negative emotional state, and called the C fiber. And interestingly, the C fiber connect to the insula in human brain. So based on this knowledge, the C fiber can be handled as the interceptive signal in this model, I think. And probably the C fiber information can support to form the shareable representation of the emotion. And the second hypothesis is that the human perceptual capability developed through the how can I say that it's the improved through the development. For instance, in the vision, the spatial resolution in the vision also improved through the development. For instance, the younger child cannot see the high frequency signal in vision, but infant can detect more detailed the texture in vision. And to model the emotional development, I employ the one kind of the neural network called restricted Boltzmann machine as a part of the more hierarchical network structure. This is a very simple model, so that's the model try to minimize the prediction error from the input. So the prediction error is calculated in the input, between the input and the reconstruct signal from the hidden layer. This idea is actually related to the idea of the free energy principle, I think. And I use the RBM to, how can I say, model the multimodal integration and development emotion by gathering the multimodal signal in the network. In the proposed network, the hypothesis is modeled as the connection between the top layer of the neural network and the specific layer that can detect the variable contact based on the C fiber in the actual tactile sensor. And the second hypothesis is modeled as the modulation of the variance in the neural network. So through the model training, the neural network can improve the reconstruction. The model can improve the resolution of the reconstruction signal. And to verify the proposed model, so I collect the virtual interaction data by using the robotics system. So I employ the camera and the mic and self-developed the soft tactile sensor to collect the these kind of the interaction, the infant caregiver interaction data. In the visual sensation, I use the facial expression. That's the subject try to express the several kind of the emotional state, and I also record the very simple audio information like ma or something, and I also record the contact information by using the tactile sensor. And to verify the effect of the two hypotheses, how can I say? I check the my proposed model in the 4 different conditions. The one is the model have the both the assumption. For instance, that is the model have the tactile dominance, and the model improve the perception in the training. And the other one, we remove the ability that improve the perception in the as a second condition to compare the effect of the ability of the perceptual improvement. And the second condition, we cut the connection between the player of the neural network and the specific tactile nerve system from the neural network to verify the effect of the tactile dominance. This slide shows the results of the difference between the model that's consider the perceptual improvement or not. The left, the 3 figures shows the developmental process of the emotional data in the neural network. Through the model training, the multimodal stimuli formed several clusters that relate to the emotional category. But in this training, the model do not use the actual emotional level. So this is a weakly supervised learning based on the positive or negative signal. So through the development, that means the model training, the model can differentiate the emotional category in like a positive, neutral, and negative. And also through the more, I guess, a much step training, the neural network can acquire the 6 basic emotional category in the representation. However, if we do not include the perceptual improvement, the neural network model cannot represent the the gathered category in the neural representation because the several stimuli can be, it's a the several stimuli that's actually belong to the same emotional state, but the characteristic of the signal is really differ in neural network. So the data represents each other individually. And if we do not include the capability of the tactile dominance, the neural network also cannot represent the basic emotional category in the model. So the left figure shows the situation that the neural network considers both hypotheses, but the right one shows the neural network that does not consider the tactile dominance. So the tactile dominance help to acquire the low dimensional representation based on the its capability. So that is the C fiber can detect the positive or negative emotional state from the contact. Okay. This slide shows the one discussion. So far, I explained the result of my proposed neural network model. So based on my result, the tactile C fiber is really important to acquire the emotional representations that can share with other humans, I think. So based on the neuroscience research, the interesting results, there are very interesting evidence there. So if the human lack the tactile dominance, it means some patients who lack the tactile C fiber or the tactile A delta fiber, they cannot feel the emotional empathy, the pain empathy. So for instance, if the human who lack the A delta fiber and the C fiber, they cannot feel the pain empathy for others. So I think the Yamada-san shows some experiments. So the patient who lack the both fibers, they cannot detect the others the pain from the visual stimuli. However, if the patient lack only the it's not beta, it's a delta, A delta fiber, they can perceive the the negative feeling from the visual stimuli. So this kind of the interoceptive signal can acquire the sharing representation of emotion through the interaction between the human body and the environment, I think. And some study also show that the ASD children also lack the see fibers in their skin. So this characteristic of the ASD may, how can I say, lead the atypical development of the emotional category in ASD, I think. And sorry, so I would like to move to the next study, but I think so I have not much time, so I skip some detail of the study. So in the previous study, I developed the model that try to represent the emotional structure in the neural network. However, we cannot use the actual interoceptive signal from the human because of that we do not have a good model about interoception. In this study, we try to use the human as a sensor of the interoception to modeling the emotional structure. And in this study, we proposed the idea of the sensoroid. That is the composed architecture with the human and the machine learning systems. So we use the multimodal latent decret allocation that is also explained in the Tanichu-san's presentation as the model of the emotion. And we use the several kind of the sensor system to detect, to correct the human physiological data. I skip this detail of the model. And in this experiment, the subject eats the food, and we record the physiological change during this task. So we have only the one subject result, but this subject eats the 6 kind of the foods and feel the several emotion in this task. We employ the 6 kind of the foods. One is the watermelon, and one is the cherry, the tomato, and the sausage, and the meatball, and umeboshi. The red color shows that the food, the subject like this food, and the blue color means this subject dislike these foods. This is a detail of the task. In the one trial, the subject first wait to serve the food, and the subject opened the food box by himself and look the food to acquire the visual signal from the sensoroid, and the subject bite the food during the 15 seconds, and finally he keep the state of the biting, and he drink the water to clean his wash. And this slide shows the result of the how experience the eating experience represent in the model. So sorry, it's small, but this figure shows the experience only consider the extraception. It means that's the visual input of the food. So in this the space of the model, the experience make the cluster that correspond to the visual feature. For instance, some food shows the square, and some food are circle, and some food has the calyx. I think it's the heta in Japanese. And in the proprioception representation in this model, the how can I say, the no clear representation are generated in here because the human, how can I say, the subject show the no specific motion to eat the each food. However, in the representational space that use the physiological data in this model represent the structure of the emotion related cluster. So in this space, some data represents the how can I say, divided into the positive or the negative axis, and someone represents the arousal and the sleep like space. Sorry, the axis in this space. And finally, we analyze also the more integrated space of these data. So this space shows the more detailed category of the food. So according to this result, the human experience about eating can be represented in the model that's using the much multimodal data, but the emotional experience during eating food is only represented in the space that's considering the interoception. So if we integrate the exteroception information to the interoception, the experience change to the emotional one to the more detailed one. And this is a preliminary experiment, but so the subject, is it the one, my student, try to use the recording system during his job interview. And we record the physiological data during the job interview and analyze these data in the space of the emotional model. This is a very brief result, and we cannot conclude this from these results, but so some temporal change of the emotional state is represented in this kind of the space of the model. So in the first job interview, he feel the nervous because it is the first time to the job interview. So the emotional state represents to the sleep one or the more negative place. And also the second job interview, his emotional state moved to the high arousal space to the negative space because he also feel the nervous. However, in the another task, the watching the movie, he feel the pleasure based on the movie. So his emotional state moved to the more positive from the negative. Okay, so actually, so I have no good conclusion in discussion, conclusion and discussion in this experiment, but I hope so that this, how can I say, may help to considering the grounding the several qualia to the emotional qualia. And this is the final slide of my presentation. So so far I explained the study that try to develop the emotional qualia in the computational model. Continue the idea, continue the both studies, and I would like to develop the more detailed computational model that can generate the emotional qualia or the information that correspond to the information structure of the emotion in this research grant. And one idea is to verify the which kind of the training method are efficient for generating the emotional qualia or the emotional representation in the information structure. And I would like to develop the artificial interoception model that's composed by the soft materials to study by, how can I say, based on the constructive approach. So which kind of the artificial interoception system are important to modeling the structure of the emotion. And this is, I skipped this slide. Okay. So thank you for the listening to my talk.